It was the longest, heaviest night the world had ever known. Not because shadows swallowed the olive groves, but because the light of heaven felt so far away. The Son of God, the one whose words had healed broken bodies, whose touch had raised the dead, whose voice had silenced raging storms, now stood on the edge of something far more terrifying than the cross itself. Not the whip, not the thorns, not even the nails. No, it was the crushing weight of every sin ever committed, yours and mine, about to be laid upon his sinless shoulders. It was the coming separation from his Father, and worst of all, it was the betrayal by those he loved most. In that garden of ancient olive trees, when Jesus needed his closest friends to stand with him, they slept. And one of them, one who had walked beside him for 3 years, was already marching through the darkness, not to protect him, but to sell him with a kiss. This is the night that reveals the heart of Jesus like no other. Stay with me, because what happens in Gethsemane will change how you see his love forever. The Passover meal had ended. The upper room was quiet now. Jesus led his disciples out into the cool night air, crossing the Kidron Valley toward the Mount of Olives. The garden was called Gethsemane, oil press, a fitting name, because on this night the Son of God would be pressed like olives until blood and sweat flowed like oil. He stopped under the ancient trees, their branches heavy with leaves that seemed to whisper in the breeze. "Sit here," he told the larger group of disciples, his voice steady but already carrying unimaginable sorrow. Then he took Peter, James, and John, the 3 who had seen him transfigured on the mountain, the 3 closest to his heart, and walked a little farther into the grove. Suddenly, the change was visible even in the dim moonlight. The strong, confident man they knew, the one who spoke with authority that made demons flee, now looked overwhelmed. "My soul is crushed with sorrow to the point of death," he told them, his voice breaking. He went on a little farther away, about a stone's throw away, and fell to the ground, not kneeling gracefully, but collapsing, face down in the dirt. His body shook as the full horror of what was coming flooded his soul. "Father," he cried, "if it is possible, let this cup pass from me." That cup wasn't just physical pain. It was every lie ever told, every act of violence, every moment of selfishness, pride, lust, and hatred in human history, poured into him like poison. It was the moment when the perfect Son would cry out, "My God, why have you forsaken me?" The weight was so crushing that an angel from heaven had to appear to strengthen him. And yet, in the middle of that agony, Jesus prayed more earnestly. His sweat became like great drops of blood falling to the ground. Then came the words that would echo through eternity. "Nevertheless, not my will, but yours be done." What incredible love! Even when every part of his humanity screamed for escape, he surrendered completely to the Father's plan. He chose the cross because he chose you. He rose, wiped the blood sweat from his face, and walked back to his friends, hoping perhaps for a moment of human comfort. What did he find? They were sleeping, deeply asleep. Peter, the bold one who had sworn he would die for Jesus, James and John, the sons of thunder, all 3 exhausted, eyes heavy, unaware of the cosmic battle happening just steps away. Jesus gently woke them. "Could you not keep watch with me for 1 hour?" he asked. There was no harsh anger in his voice, only deep disappointment mixed with tender love. "The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak." He went away a second time and prayed the same prayer of surrender, the same agony, the same drops of blood like sweat. He returned, and again they were asleep. A third time he prayed, pouring out his soul until heaven itself must have wept. When he came back the third time, he said softly, "Are you still sleeping and resting? Look, the hour has come. The Son of Man is betrayed into the hands of sinners. Rise, let us go. My betrayer is at hand." Think about that for a moment. The greatest spiritual battle in history was raging, and his closest friends missed it because they were tired. How often do we do the same? God is moving powerfully in our lives, but we are spiritually asleep, distracted by comfort, worry, or exhaustion. Right here, pause for a second with me. How many times has God been calling you to watch and pray, but you've drifted off? If this is speaking to your heart right now, do this quickly. Hit that like button, subscribe, and share this video with one person who needs encouragement. It only takes a moment, and it helps spread this powerful truth. Because what happens next will break your heart and lift your faith at the same time. No sooner had Jesus spoken than the night exploded with light and noise. Torches flickered through the trees like angry fireflies. The sound of marching feet, clanging swords and clubs, voices shouting orders. A large crowd, soldiers, temple guards, officials sent by the chief priests and elders, burst into the garden, and walking at the front, leading them all, was Judas Iscariot, one of the 12, the man who had been trusted with the money bag, the man who had seen Jesus feed thousands with 5 loaves, walk on water, and raise Lazarus from the dead. He had already slipped away earlier that evening and struck a deal, 30 pieces of silver, the price of a common slave. That's how cheaply he valued the Son of God. He walked straight up to Jesus, bold as brass. "Greetings, Rabbi," he said, and kissed him. Not a quick peck, a deliberate, lingering kiss. Jesus looked at him with eyes full of sorrow, not rage. "Judas, are you betraying the Son of Man with a kiss?" Then, even in that moment of ultimate treachery, Jesus said, "Friend, do what you came to do." Friend. He still called him friend. What kind of love is this? The soldiers moved in to arrest him. Chaos erupted.
The disciples panicked. Peter, impulsive as ever, drew a sword and swung wildly at the nearest man, Malchus, the servant of the high priest, cutting off his right ear. But Jesus immediately stopped everything. "No more of this," he commanded. Then, with incredible compassion in the middle of his own arrest, he reached out, touched Malchus's bleeding head, and healed the ear completely. Even as they were binding his hands, Jesus was still healing and showing mercy. He turned to the crowd with calm authority. "Am I leading a rebellion that you have come out with swords and clubs to capture me? Every day I was with you in the temple courts teaching, and you did not lay a hand on me. But this is your hour, when darkness reigns." Then it happened. The disciples, who had all sworn they would never abandon him, scattered like frightened sheep and ran into the night, every single one. Jesus stood completely alone, betrayed by one, abandoned by the rest, surrounded by enemies. Yet he did not resist. He did not call down legions of angels, because this was the plan. This was the road to the cross. This was love in its purest, most costly form. In the Garden of Gethsemane, we don't just see Jesus' power, we see his incredible surrender. He saw the betrayal coming, and he stayed. He felt the weight of every sin, and he stayed. He knew his friends would fail him, and he stayed. He looked down through the ages, saw every mistake you would make, and still he stayed. He chose obedience over ease, love over self-preservation, your redemption over his comfort. This is the Jesus who prays for you when you are weak. This is the Jesus who heals even as he is being arrested. This is the Jesus who calls his betrayer friend. And this same Jesus is calling you today. Will you stay awake with him? Will you surrender your will to the Father's, no matter the cost? If this message has touched your heart, don't just scroll on. Take a moment right now and ask yourself, am I spiritually awake, or have I been sleeping through what God is doing in my life? Type, I choose God's will in the comments below if you're ready to follow Jesus, no matter what it costs. And if you want more powerful, emotional Bible stories that bring the Word to life, make sure you subscribe right now and turn on the notification bell. The story doesn't end in the garden. The cross is coming, but so is the resurrection. Everything is about to change. Thank you for watching. God bless you. And remember, He stayed for you.